What's up guys, it's Bucky. Welcome to your 32nd I think tutorial in Python. In this tutorial I'm going to be getting into objects. Now you hear a lot about object oriented programming, and Python is actually one of those programming languages. So it's kind of a confusing topic, so I'm going to take it slow and try to explain to you guys exactly what it is, because all the other tutorials on the internet kind of suck at it. So pretty much an object is a thing that contains data and also has methods. Now a method in an object is pretty much just like a function, but you call it a method when it's inside an object, and it also uses data from that exact same object. Now object is a thing that has its built-in attributes to describe it. So for example, if I was an object, Bucky, you would probably describe me as sexy, like that. So it would be object period attribute to describe it. So Bucky is the object period attribute to describe it. Bucky period man, Bucky period smart. I know I'm full of myself, but and besides attributes to go along with objects, objects also have something called methods, as I showed you before, and these are just like functions, except they're in the objects and they use the object's data. So what they would do is have something like this. If Bucky was the object, he would have a method called shave. What else can this object do? Bucky works with your empty parameters, and also Bucky reads. So that is how you would use a method on an object. But before you do any of this stuff, you need to build something called a class. Now what a class does is pretty much your blueprint for your object, and you need to build a class before you can even think about building objects. And it's kind of what your object is based on. So here's how you make a class. To make a class, and this is the very first thing you do when building objects, you go ahead and type class. This tells Python that you're going to be building a class. Next, make your class name. I'm going to name mine example class. Now after you get your class name, put a semicolon, or excuse me, colon, and go ahead and press enter. Now in your class you're going to have a bunch of different types of data. The first thing I'm going to have is a variable, and I'm going to have eyes. And this is going to pretty much describe your class and going to be overall use for your class. So my eyes are blue, so I'll put a variable in there called eyes blue. Age equals 22. And you can have a bunch of different variables to describe whatever class you're building. Of course, I'm building one that resembles me. Actually, my eyes are brown, but that's not important. Now, after you do this, you can also have something called methods in your class. And to make a method, it's the exact same thing as making a function. So let's go ahead and do that. So you put define, or to create. Let's just make something called this method. And the difference between making a method inside a class and making a function outside it is the methods in your class. The first one has to be self as the first parameter. So let's go ahead, and I'll tell you why that is later. But after you create your method and name it, make sure that first parameter is self. Now let me go ahead and press enter, and let's make this method do something. Let's return, hey, this method, I typed it right, worked. So now we have a method. So inside our class we have one variable that has a string, one variable that has a number, and a method that just returns, hey, this method works. Now let's go ahead and press enter and create our class. Now if you type example class, you can get a weird message, and just showed you that your class was actually created. Now I showed you guys how to build a class, which is pretty much like the blueprint. Now I need to teach you guys how to make an object, and you need an object in order to get the data from your class. So let's go ahead and make an example object, and I'll name mine example object. You can name yours anything you want, and you need to set it equal to the class with empty parameters. So I'm going to put mine example class and have mine empty parameters. Now I just created an object which refers to this blueprint right here. And now with your object you can get all this data inside of it. So you can go ahead and press example object period eyes, and that's how you refer to the variables inside your class or object. And once you press this, you're able to access all the information inside your object or class. So go ahead and press example object. Let's go ahead and get the age 22, and you can also call your methods that you just made with your object using, well, it's probably the same syntax you think. So example object, again, you need your object to access any of the information, period, what's it called, this method, and remember we're referring to this one up here, and go ahead and get rid of that, add empty parameters, and it says, hey, this method worked. So again, that's how you build a class. And again, you need to make an object to refer to your class, because you can build different things to refer to the same class. So that's why, or excuse me, you can build many objects to refer to the same class. So we need to build a specific object, and you'll see why later on, but you just need to do that. And then once you get your object built, you can start referring to the data elements inside your class. So again, you have to put a period and then what element or item you want to refer to. So if you want to refer to the age variable, you have to put your object and then age. And again, if you want to refer to a method, you just put your name of your object and then your method after that. So that's how you can call all your items out from your class. So that's your basics of object-oriented programming. In the next couple tutorials, I'm going to be going in depth and clearing all these things up for you. But for now, I just wanted to give you guys a quick $2 tour overview of what object-oriented programming looks like in Python. So hopefully you stayed with me a little bit. Hopefully you understand this, and in the next couple tutorials, like I said, I'll be clearing it up. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next tutorial.